Hello, hello. I am just waiting for Amy to come on. Hello, how are you? Hi, happy Tuesday. Hi, Amy. Okay. Hi,
Hi,
Amy.
Christine.
How are you?
Good. First time doing this. This is
Yeah,
fun. This is so
I'm
fun.
excited.
It's awesome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Just been running around New York City.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, we have a few people here with us. Hi, Jessica. I love it. Should we get started?
Yes, I'd love to.
Let's do it. Kick us off since you've done it yesterday.
So today
Hi,
is day
Dylan.
2 of our 7-day chakra reset challenge. For those who aren't familiar and are joining us for the first time, Amy and myself are holding a challenge this week for the new lunar year and helping you to learn a little bit about the energy centers and what different healing fruits and tools you might be able to use to balance your chakras. So today
Awesome.
is, yeah, day 2.
Day two, we're talking about the sacral chakra, the color of orange. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Hi, Nikki. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is so much fun. Um, so I think you introduced yourself yesterday during your live. Is that right,
Mhm,
Christine? So
mhm.
maybe it's good for me to just give like a 2 second or a 5 second blurb about me. I'm Amy, and I basically practice healing with food specifically. And I do a lot of mindset work as well because there's so many stories that we have about food that blocks us from actually accessing those energies. And a lot of my work is inspired, and a lot of the information comes from medical medium. So if you guys are medical medium fans, like, kudos to that. Um, it's really changed my life, and I'm here to help, spread that healing. And I know I worked with Christine and some of you guys who have joined through his information and make it more interactive and something that you can actually implement, because without implementing something, and that's what we're going to talk about today as well for Sacral, then all the things that you're thinking about or wanting to do doesn't actually come into reality, right?
Mhm.
So that's exactly what I do in a nutshell. And for this challenge, when Christine approached me to co-host this together, she had asked, whether or not it's possible to kind of bring in certain foods or recipes that will really help recharge each of our chakras. And I thought about this, and I thought maybe fruits would be the most simple way to go, because one, you don't really have to cook fruits. You just cut them up, you peel them off, and you'll be able to enjoy this wonderful, wonderful, um, entity, I would call it.
Mhm.
And so, for instance, when I was a little girl, I remember the first picture that my parents took of me was me holding an orange.
Mm.
So it's the perfect segue to today's topic of the sacral chakra, which is the color of orange. I did not have any toys growing up. I grew up in China. I may have like one or two stuffed animals, but I never took a photo with those. I was like, Dad, why am I holding oranges in all of my photos? So you wouldn't let it go. I was like, okay, well, that's very economical for you. I was a very, very, economical child. Um, but fruits have one of the highest vibrations on this planet. You literally have to go through the entire cycle of a season and all of these nutrients being absorbed by the roots of a plant. You have to plant a seed, you have to nurture it, you have to go through this entire gestation phase. And the plant has to be healthy enough in order to bear fruit.
Mm.
So I actually work with a lot of women who, now that they've healed their skin and things like that, that they want to get pregnant. And one thing that I noticed in my research on how to make yourself more fertile is this one quote by the medical medium. He said, "Eat fruit to bear fruit." It is as simple as that. Eat fruit to produce fruit. Eat fruit to bear fruit. Eat fruit to produce fruit. And even in the Bible, God says to be fruitful. And we'll talk about that today too, because being fruitful means that you're actually producing. You're actually being creative. You're actually connecting to the roots of this human experience, right? Every tree, every plant has roots. And it is through the roots that you get the nutrients, you pull it up, and you actually then, send all of those energies through your branches to create leaves and to ultimately bear fruit, right? So fruits is one of the most nutritious things that we can take in to our body. And just on that note, because I know some of you guys may not know, but I'm pregnant. 5 weeks later, I'll be giving birth to this baby. And I did not know this, but breast milk is basically 90% sugar. Breast milk, the thing that allows the baby to grow for the first entire year and beyond, right, is sugar. It's literally glucose. And the only type of free sugar that we accept, right, in our brain and our liver as fuel for our entire body is the real sugar from fruits, which is different from processed sugars. So when you guys have cravings for sugars, which comes up so much when I work with people, especially females, and we'll talk about that today because those are some of the addictions that we can have. When we're talking about the sacral chakra, it's about desire, right? It's about our sensuality. It's our creative power, which you're going to go into, Christine, a little bit. And that is what is connecting us, right? So the fruits is really, really important for that. And I'll talk a little bit more about the orange, but I'm going to now pass it on to you, Christine, to talk a little bit more about the chakra itself. Now that I've talked about why I picked fruits for the rest for this entire challenge as the food.
That's such a beautiful way of just bringing so much wisdom and everything with intention. It just all makes sense that how we all work with the earth and the world around us and these fruits that are alive and brings us this energy and actually nourishes and heals us. It's such a beautiful way to bring it all together. So thank you, Amy, for sharing that.
Of course. And if you guys have any questions about that, let me know. I know some people are like, oh, well, what about free sugar? What about diabetes? Like if you guys have questions about that, feel free to type it in, engage with us, give us a heart, ask me tough questions, right? I'm here for all of it. So
absolutely.
Yes.
So our sacral is all about our creativity, and it's really about bringing more of that divine feminine into our life, more of that flow, connecting with our womb, right? Where that location of the womb is. And as Amy talked about, this is where we really bring birth to our creation, which is life and manifestation of our projects in life as well, not just life, not only life itself, right? But also our creative outlet. So in order to wake that up, we bring more of the things that are associated with this color of the sunlight of orange. And so my experience with the sacral has been really interesting because it develops during the ages of 8 to 14. And so I think when we're younger, we are able to be so free and connected to our artistic creativity. And as we get older, we start to become more into our logical mind and lose a sense of that joy of that play and of that fun. So I actually had to bring that back into my life in order to create a business that I really enjoy and that I connect with and align with. And so with that, I also had to heal old emotional wounds, familial wounds as well, and draw healthy boundaries in my relationships with not only other people in my family and my circle, but also with myself, and kind of learn what's a healthy medium between being not too overly emotional and forgetting about how to stay grounded, right? But connecting the dots between the root and the sacral, and bring forth joy and creativity into my business. So I love to ask the viewers how you are bringing more creativity into your life. In what ways are you connecting with your emotions, with your sensuality, and how you might be able to incorporate that more into your everyday? I'd love to hear from you in the comments.
So yeah, type to us. So I'm going to point out, I know Jessica, earplugs for the soul. She said she would normally type more, but she's cooking. So I would say that cooking is how Jessica is bringing her creativity into in connecting with her sacral. I'm going to also answer a few questions while other people type here. Someone asked me, Amy, what would you say for diabetes or diabetic? That's a really, really great question. So if you're on a high fat and high protein diet, I actually wouldn't recommend fruit sugar or any kind of sugar to that person, because diabetes is actually when our fruit sugar level is getting plugged and clogged inside of our body and has nowhere to go. And that only happens when we're on a high fat and high protein diet, which makes our blood literally thicker. Our lymphatic system moves slower. Everything is a little bit more sluggish, which means then sugar, any kind of sugar, will get trapped in it. So in order for us to bring in fruits, we actually need to lower our high protein and high fat diet. Then we can find more balance and bring in this natural fuel into our body, increase our glucose fuel reserve for our liver and our brain, and you'll actually get a lot more clarity in life. And you can actually create more. Talk about creativity. I was working with a client. She's a very, very successful influencer, and she started, bringing more of these stuff into her life. And she had all these stories about fruits in the past, but she's a creator, right? But when she started eliminating all of those fruit fear stories, she says she's on warp speed in creating, like things that she never wanted to do in the past, where she's been like kind of dreading doing, like writing a newsletter to her, 100,000 people on her email list, is now so easy for her to do, right? So it's just about being clear about what these things are, how our body actually works, whether it's on an energetic level, like what Christine is saying, or on the physical level. And when those things all come together and connect for you based on the actual knowledge, then you can actually take the knowledge and implement it into wisdom, because wisdom is an action-oriented word, and that's what you want to bring forth when you're thinking about working with the sacral chakra as well, because your desires, having a desire to do something, and then knowing the tools that you have to bring that desire forward, will allow you to kind of unlock that wisdom for you, so that you can really live the life of your dreams, like what Christine is doing right now. So, yeah. So anything else? Are you seeing any comments, Christine, that you want to highlight?
I think it's just so, I always love hearing your wisdom, Amy, just as you said. I think, there's just so much to learn about how we can really connect to our bodies and to the world around us, and to manifest these desires, like you said, and put it into action. So it's not just a spiritual tool, right? But it's also on a very physical level, like you mentioned.
Yes, that's right. And Jessica just said, I literally was thinking the quote, true knowledge into wisdom, when I went to grab my coconut oil. I love it. Amazing. Yes, cook with coconut oil and olive oil, right? Better than canola. Amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. So Christine, do you when for my sacral chakra story, and I really, really loved yours, I had a huge blockage for myself in terms of desire and sex. I'm just going to put it out there, right? And because those two words, I feel like in the spiritual community is very like, oh, you shouldn't have desire. You should just sit here and meditate. And, if you think long enough and it will come to you, you'll manifest it. Or tantric sex, right? For instance, tantra is something that is practiced in even Buddhism. And you're like, well, how do I, what is that? Like, isn't sex portrayed by the media bad and all of these things? So when I talk about the sacral, those are all the things that I had to work through in order to tell myself that those things is a part of the human experience, and it is your desire powered by your sensuality, your fertility, and your sexuality that gets you to the next level and up levels you in life in general. So I don't know how you feel about that, because like it took me a very long time in the last year to even be to even unlock that and to be completely okay with all that we are, so
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And I love to hear how that actually affected your ability to conceive as well.
Yeah. The ability to conceive was more on a physical level, I feel like. The physical body composition and like me being able to be fertile enough. But I think knowing your own desire and using, empowering it and transmuting your sexual energy is on the creativity level. That's what I'm talking about. Like that is a little something that I didn't know how to kind of make that transition, right? Because when we think about sex, is like sex is a very private thing, right? With someone you love. And then your business, you don't think about that. So it's actually bridging those two energies together and knowing that they're not actually different, because the power creation and the birthing process for anything that you create, whether it's a business or a product or service, or a child, right? Or anything else, or like a music piece, right? If you look at Queens, if you look at all the great musicians that has ever lived, you know that they are literally having sex with you, like on stage. That's it. You feel that sexual tension, and that is what drives them all the way through from A to Z. So there's no difference between, you look at Kim Kardashian, like she has that energy, right? And she brings it forward. She's not ashamed of it. It's being able to not be ashamed of that energy and actually using it to create the things that you want to birth your creations into the world. And I want to be like very raw about, talking about this, because I feel like in the spiritual world, like we don't talk about this enough. Like we don't like, this is a sacral chakra. Like, let's bring it out.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have a couple of thoughts. The first one that came up for me is when I started this journey, I didn't consciously choose to be abstinent, but I'm going to be honest that I was for at least about a year. And it was really interesting how that aligned. And that was because I was overcoming an obstacle within myself. And so I had to harness that energy and rebalance and kind of bring more light into that part of myself, so that I could honor my body and myself before I partner or give to somebody else. So I think there's a balance in that it's not that I didn't want to have sex or be intimate with someone. It's just that because at that time I had to really take care of my own well-being, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, before I was able to be full in my own light and be able to conjoin with somebody else. So I think that's what's coming up for me. And the
Yeah.
second part of it is, I wonder if, I know there's a lot of people and women who are in this, like, at least the influencer space that are they're using a lot of the masculine energy to create and put that sacral divine feminine aside so that
Yes.
they
Yes.
weren't able to give birth in their physical body. But like you
Correct.
said, how do we combine both and call that in so that we are fully ready to birth life in all forms?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's really, really beautiful. And I'm just looking at the comments here. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing all of that. You know, the
Wow.
Empress energy, just like what Christine was saying, the divine feminine. And Nikki, she said, I'm with you, Christine, on, you know, like being aligned with oneself first before engaging with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the power in our sexual alchemy and bring our manifestations to fruition. Yes, absolutely, Jessica. And I have a question here. Were you aware of the obstacle the whole time, or is this something you came to realize was an issue? So I'm going to answer this for myself. This is really interesting. I realized this because the universe sends you signals in every way. So I became aware of it because I was having dreams where my sexual energy was released in that way. And I was like, okay, well, this is kind of odd. Like, what's going on? Like, I have my husband here, like, during the day, and we're also very intimate. So it was basically telling me that there's something there that's blocked. And I had to actually be aware of it. And the one thing that and I love that we're having this conversation about it, and even you guys are chatting and commenting on it, because once you speak it, once you're unafraid to speak it, that is when you actually start to unblock it. So even as you guys are typing to us and engaging with us and having this open conversation like Christine and I are doing right now, you guys are unlocking it. You guys are healing me right now because I'm talking about it with you. So that's how I became aware of it, and to be able to talk about it is like the first, you know, unashamed, right? Without guilt, without shame, completely honest, completely raw. Like, that is when you start to. I think that I started to unblock it. So
Yes, wow, that landed so deeply. Like that you said, because we're speaking about it, and it's just a continuous cycle of shining, of owning your truth. And with that, we're able to collectively rise. And it's so beautiful.
yes. And I do want to say, Christine, when you talked about the masculine, like I know that, like, I had more guy friends growing up because I grew up in a family of all my cousins. I'm the only girl in the family until my brother came along 10 years later. So I grew up in my entire life being made fun of as the only girl with my cousins. And I was always operating on my crown chakra, which is very logical, very masculine. The longest journey I had to make was from the head to the heart, and then the heart down to the sacral, right? And then I have to work all the way from the bottom and then back up again and realign all of those chakras. So I'm really, really excited that we're here to talk about, you know, how all of that works, and starting from the root and going all the way up to the crown instead of the other way around. I feel like we live in a society where it's like the other way around. We're like making our way back down to earth, so then we can actually create and manifest our desires here on this earthly plane, which is a very physical world. So yeah. I love it.
How do you know blockage exists in chakra, and what chakra?
It's a great question. Do you have any thoughts on that, Christine?
Yes, absolutely. So there are a lot of different symptoms for each chakra, which is why we're kind of doing this challenge, because we're learning about what each harness is and what it's about. And so, for example, the sacral, you might feel like you are either overly emotional or not too in touch with your feelings. You're kind of blocking that side of you out and not expressing that fully. you might feel disconnected with others or your community. And that goes with also your expression of emotion, right? Because you're not speaking and owning your truth inside. So there's a misalignment in that area. And with that, the boundaries will also be kind of swayed, right? You either are too open with others, and you're letting people kind of impose on your own boundaries, or you're too closed off. So it really depends where you fall, and there's no good or bad. It's just all about balancing and harmonizing and shifting the areas in your life when you need to, right?
Yes, absolutely. And on a physical level, if we're talking about food, you can actually use your cravings and addictions as a signal to whether or not there's blockages in certain chakras. And because today we're talking about the sacral, for instance, if you love gluten, you love wheat, you love bread, beer, and chocolate, that could be a signal that there's a little bit of rebalance that you might want to consider in working with your sacral. Because why do we love a warm piece of bread or a glass of beer or chocolate, right? It's to pick us up. We're looking for that love, that connection, that warmth, right? Like when you bite into a piece of warm bread, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm getting a hug. And that's why I still love eating a piece of warm bread. That's why I'm like, I'm so glad I'm healed, or like enough that I could go and enjoy this on the physical level. But if you have a constant craving for that, what we crave on the physical level is a reflection of how we feel emotionally inside, right? So if you have a constant kind of craving for some of these things, that means that we're looking for that love, right? We're looking for that, for that outlet, to kind of feel like hugged inside and supported, right? Mm-hmm. From whether it's our family, like what Christine said, our community, our family, our friends, and things like that, right? So Nikki says, calling me out, pasta lover here. I had pasta last night.
So. Yeah, I've been having rice because Lunar New Year.
Yes, Lunar New Year, and all the energies of family coming together, right? And celebrating. And so you're eating all those things together to kind of like express that energy. So it's all a reflection of what we're celebrating at the time, what we're going through at the time, and things like that. So, you could bring in some oranges in your life to help rebalance that. It's very citrusy. It actually helps us to feel emotionally supported, right? Not on the physical level, there's just so many great things about it. It has the highest bioavailable calcium that you can find on this planet. So it's better than you popping a calcium pill. Especially if you drink the orange or eat the orange within the first 30 minutes. So it's really, really miraculous. It's got a lot of vitamin C. We already know that, right? I don't have to tell you that. But emotionally, it will support you that way, because look at it. It's like a beam of sunshine, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to kind of work on your sacral on a physical level using food and kind of rebalance it, maybe the next time you reach out for a piece of bread or some pasta, you can eat an orange first, right? Or just kind of start incorporating that into your life. I buy literally like 3 to 4 bags of, I don't know, like 14-pound oranges every week, because my entire family is on oranges, and we have so much love for each other. We feel so supported. We're never in each other's way. We're always, just supporting each other. Like, there's 3 cooks in the kitchen, but we never feel like we're butting heads. So that's the kind of support that you want from your community. People who respect your space, who supports in whatever it is that you're trying to birth into this world, but can also express themselves around you, even if they don't have the same values or they live exactly the same life as you. Because me and my parents don't share exactly all the same values, and all the same opinions, but we live very well together under the same household, and we juice oranges together every single day.
Love that. Yes. Yeah. As I was eating my orange this morning, I thought of your your wisdom of sharing that it's liquid gold. I was
It
like
is.
eating it and just enjoying it. I'm like, this is literally like liquid gold.
It feels that way. There's so many things that I feel like is liquid gold, and this is definitely one of them. So
Yes.
I love it. So yeah. So if you guys haven't already signed up for the challenge, make sure you guys do that, because all of this information that we share is in the email, right, Christine?
Yes.
Awesome. Yes. So you guys can see all of that. Is there anything else we want to cover? Any other questions that we can answer?
I think
So
that's
happy
it.
that you guys are here. That's great. Well, if that's the case, we've been on here for 30 minutes. I think that is a great amount of time. I'm so happy that you guys are all here. Thank you, Jessica, Nikki, and everyone else who asked questions. And we'll be back tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. That's awesome. This is so much fun. I could be on this with you having this conversation for hours.
It happens a lot. I have a podcast where literally I just go on for hours of this. So yeah.
Yay.
I love you guys. Well, if you guys have any other questions, like drop us in like our post. Like my most recent post is about this challenge. Christine's most recent post is about this challenge. So just drop us a heart, give us a comment, ask us questions. And tomorrow we'll be talking about the solar plexus.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful, today is Monday,
Yes.
week, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.